Hi there, my name's Susan Alexander from The Property Mentor, and I want to share with you some things around adding value and making money using permitted development in planning. Now, this is a way that you can actually make money without necessarily having to do lots of work if you want to. So I'm going to look at the start point of permitted development and not necessarily in this short recording around actually exercising your permitted development rights and developing a property. So we're just going to look at the planning element of it. For those people that are interested in making some quicker money and not doing the development, this is an opportunity for you to really use planning in the sense of using a shorter timescale. So full planning applications can take months and months to get through. With permitted development, it's a really good opportunity for you to utilise the shorter timescale that's there, and also something that's already been permitted. That's the whole point of it. It's telling you what you can and can't do and what you're allowed to do without permission, basically. So if you can really get to understand it, and it can be complicated, planning is complicated, but if you can get to understand how to use permitted development, you can really make money in a much shorter time scale. And I'm going to share with you today just some examples of how you could do that and some of the things that you can focus on to really help you. So if we focus on permitted development, there's permitted development allowed in lots of different areas. You can have permitted development on your own house, for example, or on a residential property where, you know, you can get so much, you're allowed to extend it by so much, usually out the back. At the moment it's up to 8 metres, and you can go out to the side by up to 50% of the size of the building. Now, if you didn't know that, that's something that you can utilise without having to get full planning permission on a residential property. Now, it doesn't work in every case, and that's where you really need to start to understand when it does work and when it doesn't. And there are sometimes other factors that you need to consider that may have to be considered for each particular development. You've got things like noise and pollution and contamination that even in a permitted development application you need to consider. However, what I'm going to say to you is here that if you could learn just one element of planning and permitted development, you could focus and make yourself almost like a specific expert in that area and utilise that to make lots of money. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we look at the planning classes, you've got different classes within planning. So A classes are generally around retail. A1 is a retail class, and you can look up online to have a little look. Just Google planning classes, do a search, and you'll get all the different classes. I can put a link to it in here to help you, and you'll see that planning classes are all divided. And so if you had something like a planning class of A1, which is for a retail unit, you can, under permitted development, in some situations apply to have that as a change of use to a different class. And let's say in this case you wanted to go to something like mixed use, A2 mixed use, and use it for retail. And also you can get permitted development for mixed use of retail plus 2 flats. So if you had something where you have a retail unit which is currently used, let's say a bank or the building society, or maybe a shop or a post office, something like that, that's been used in the past, or maybe still in use, but mostly it might have been used in the past for a particular use of retail, and they've used all the stories for retail, but moving forward you could potentially apply under permitted development, which at the minute is 56 days. You put your application in, you might have to put some supporting evidence in with it and supporting reports depending on what it is that you're doing. And you could apply to have that changed to mixed use plus 2 flats. So you still use the bottom floor for retail, but you perhaps change the top level to 2 flats. And that is allowed. There are some other elements that you may need to consider if you're changing the building that might need a full planning application, but if you're just keeping it as it is, it could be as simple as just simply explaining to the planning department, this is what I'm going to do, unless they've got any objections, 56 days, and your planning is then approved. Now, that might sound straightforward, and it can be that straightforward, but what I'd encourage you to do is to think about becoming knowledgeable and being specific in one area. There are so many different planning classes, and there are so many different things in each class that are permitted. And so you could pick just one specific class, like I've just explained, learn what's permitted within that class under planning terms, and turn that around quite quickly within 56 days in order for you to add value, and then you could just sell it on and make money having added value by putting in a simple permitted development application. And that's a really sensible way without a huge investment to make some money. Now, you might need some expert help and support, and particularly when you're first getting started. But once you start to understand the application process, there's an opportunity for you to go and add value. And it might be that you don't even need to buy the property. You could do an option with the vendor and secure the purchase of the property, get the permitted development application through, add the value, and then look to sell it on to another investor who wants to do the changes and invest in it to exercise those changes that you have got the planning permission on, and then you move on to your next project. So that's how you could look at using permitted development to add value and make money without doing any development whatsoever. I hope that's been of some help to you. If we can help you further, please feel free to get in touch. You can book a free coaching call through thepropertymentor.com, and we'd be delighted to help you on your property investment journey.